What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Build, Grow, Scale podcast. I am one of your hosts, James Backenstoes, and as always, I'm accompanied by my co-host, Alexander Nikolaski. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Brad Owens. He is our Ecom Insider Community Manager, and he is here to discuss artificial intelligence and how it can benefit your ecom store. Brad, you there, buddy?
Yes, I am here.
What is up, my man?
Not much. I'm ready. I'm excited. AI is
excited.
It's amazing.
Fantastic. So I kind of give a brief detail on what you do here at Build, Grow, Scale. Do you want to elaborate on the Ecom Insider community?
Yeah. So I'm the community manager for Ecom Insider. That's our it's our guided mentorship program. So it doesn't matter where you are, if you're a beginner or even if you're very successful, we can kind of guide you through building, growing, and scaling your store. And I'm also a revenue optimization expert too. So work with our amplified partners that are doing big business.
Excellent. So what I'm hearing you say is you're quite knowledgeable in the e-commerce space.
Yeah, a little bit. Been doing it since like 89, I think.
Nice.
I mean, 98. 89.
89, 98.
That's probably
a long time,
Alex
nevertheless, right?
98.
Cool. So how about we just jump right in here? Alex, you got a question you want to fire off at Brad?
Yeah, so I'm curious. I mean, it seems like there's so many AI platforms popping up left and right. Like I read this newsletter every day and it seems like there's a new one showing up every day. So I'm curious, what are your two favorite platforms when it comes to e-commerce? AI.
Well, yeah, so it's a lot, and it's really just like at the beginning of it. So it's like almost like Pong with video games. Like you had Pong, where it's like, in the 70s we got it, brought it home, and it's like the dot going back and forth. I mean, that's where we're at with AI. I mean, it's exciting, and just within the last week, so like every day there's like something new that came out. But to answer your question, as far as my favorite right now is, of course, ChatGPT for your text to text. So you input text and you get text as output. ChatGPT along with Playground, which is from OpenAI. So if you can't get into ChatGPT, you can go with Playground as an alternative. But my opinion, the results from ChatGPT has been better. And then for text to image, I would go with either Midjourney or Playground AI.
Okay. And what's the difference between, personally, I wasn't aware of Playground myself. I've been using ChatGPT and Jasper, but what's the difference between Playground and ChatGPT?
Playground,
they're both by OpenAI. Huh?
They're both by OpenAI. Playground you can get into. A lot of times ChatGPT, unless you're doing Plus, the paid version of it, a lot of times it's at capacity.
Oh, so yeah, they just rolled that out recently, right? The paid one, like a week or so ago.
Last week, from this recording. So it's real new.
So I want to elaborate on something real quick. So you mentioned text to text with ChatGPT. So I'm assuming that refers to like copywriting.
Well, it could be copywriting. It could be market research. I mean,
got it.
Yeah, anything that's not an image. But you can actually do text to like a chart or code or a Excel formula.
I mean, so seeing that ChatGPT you said is text to text, how can the everyday person that writes like a 3-year-old like I do use that to create like engaging copy or product descriptions or something like that? Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I love.
Before you go into that, Jimmy, it's not actually a bad thing that you write as a 3-year-old because that's the average reading level of was it 3-year-old or 5-year-old. So that's actually a good practice to get into with the Hemingway app. Total side note, by the way. But
I think like a 6th grader, like most people, like
6th grader,
like in journalism, like I think you're taught to write on a 6th grade level. Like for the Washington Post, the New York Times, and those
right.
people. But yeah, so you just got to remember to write in the voice of your brand and really speaking to your like customer avatar. And again, it's garbage in, garbage out. So the more general you are, the more general your output is going to be. So just be very specific with a lot of details, a lot of adjectives, just explaining what you want. And I love it for product descriptions. And as an example, I've got one that I did earlier for it's a Slayer t-shirt, the band Slayer. So I asked it to write a product description that was fun, creative, ecom product description for Slayer Eagle t-shirt, be creative, fun in the style of Think Geek product descriptions. And it gave me one that was like, pretty good. And I'll just read the first paragraph of it. It says, "Are you ready to soar to new heights with the Slayer Eagle shirt? This metal-approved tee is a perfect way to show your love for one of the greatest thrash metal bands of all time." That's okay. I love how they said, "Are you ready to soar?" Because it's an eagle. That's kind of cool. This metal-approved tee, I don't know who approves like metal tees. That's kind of like, you don't have a metal committee that's like, you're approved. So that's kind of dumb. So you've got to tweak and kind of make everything
I
your
kind
own.
of like that metal approved, honestly. It's not like somebody approves it, but it's like, I don't know, like, yeah, metal approved.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could leave it or whatever. So I might want to tweak it a little bit. But, and I had a couple more paragraphs after that. However, when I was finished, I said, create a variation of the above using Gen Z slang.
Mm-hmm.
So that first paragraph became, "Are you ready to get lit with the Slayer Eagle shirt? This tee is straight fire and the perfect way to show your love for one of the dopest thrash metal bands of all time."
That's actually really funny.
So it did a great job. And then I said, okay, rewrite it to be more conversational and less salesy. Then it's like, hey, are you a true Slayer fan? Then you got to check out the Slayer Eagle shirt. It's the real deal in a perfect way, yada, yada, yada. And then I said, rewrite the above in the style of Snoop Dogg. It's like, hey, check it. Are you down with Slayer? Then you got to peep this fresh Slayer Eagle shirt, man. It's the real deal. So you kind of get the idea. And then it did
absolutely. So you're typing in the prompts, right? That's what they're called, as prompts.
Right.
How to speak to your, not just the general description of the shirt, but your ideal niche in your audience. You're asking it to speak into whatever your audience is so they can relate to it and it's more engaging for them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point. You can even like copy text from maybe a different website that you like the product description of and say, rewrite this, but instead of, catnip, these are dog chew toys. And it'll write variations of it or create 3 variations of this. So your imagination is really your limit.
That's pretty crazy. So what you're saying is it's so intelligent that it will remember every time. Now rewrite this or rewrites the above. But that only works for the last output, right? What if you wanted it to rewrite an output that it was 2 or 3 prompts ago? Will that still work, or have you ever tried that?
You would probably have to go up and copy it, but you can also create new chats in ChatGPT. So, and you can go back and look at older ones. So if I had like one just for product descriptions, I can go back to that and it has all of my whole query of,
So it saves it. There's prompts. No, when my power goes out and my computer shuts down, I don't lose all the answers from ChatGPT. It's still going to stay there.
Yeah.
And this is a completely free service.
Completely free.
Beautiful.
But there is a paid version now. So if you're having trouble getting in for whatever reason, I've been super lucky. I've always been in the last couple of weeks, never had an outage, but a lot of people are having problems getting into it because it's at capacity. So $19.99 a month is like a deal for it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Let me just go a little bit deeper here with the prompts and everything. I'm not I haven't done a lot of writing with AI yet, but I'm just starting to get into it more. I'm curious, since we know when it comes, James asked about copywriting and product descriptions, since we know there are some rules when it comes to copy, like how long a sentence can be. For example, 10 to 15 words max, and one sentence per paragraph and like use proper formatting and all of that, subheadings and whatnot. Is it that intelligent to understand that kind of instructions?
Yes, you
Can you
can give it
give it?
those kind of. You can say, "Write me a Twitter bomb," or
Mhm.
blah blah blah.
Oh, wow. That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
So essentially, what
Awesome.
I'm hearing you say is it's basically like having your own little free virtual assistant that you can give all your monotonous tasks to if you need to.
Yes, it is exactly like that.
Well, that
So sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. No,
When you said garbage in, garbage out, you give a good example of how to do it right. What's a bad example, a bad prompt that will not give you a good output
Like
for
if I
this
just
particular
said,
t-shirt?
"Write a product description for a Slayer T-shirt,"
Oh, I see.
very
Okay,
then
very
generic.
it would have been very general, very basic as far as the output. And again, the other thing to remember too is it will just make stuff up
hmm
too. So you need to double check and make sure the output it gives you is actually factual and true.
right. So it's a good starting point, of course, and you know, you still have to edit it, obviously, which leads me to my next point. I want to write this for a little bit more. I read some stuff about Google potentially penalizing AI generated content. Is that true? Or do you know anything about that?
Okay, uh, that was the theory up until like really a few days ago. Like last week, Google actually
Okay.
had an announcement on their blog. So this is straight from Google that they are not penalizing AI generated content. What they do penalize is if you're just like keyword stuffing or something where you're just, which is
Mhm.
against their terms anyway. So if you're
Right.
just stuffing a site full of keywords, if it's like really low quality, they penalize that, but they've always penalized low quality content.
Right. So
Now,
as
I think
long
the
as it's
theory
tailored,
was that like if you're very general with your prompts, you're going to get low quality content. And so in theory, it'd be penalized. But just for it being AI, because as we've seen, AI can give you like really good quality content,
Mhm.
and they're not going to penalize you even if it detects as AI.
So the key is high quality customer centric or reader centric content instead of just trying to get
Yeah,
something
which is
out there
what you
for
want anyway.
keywords. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
Speaking of the customer angle on here, so I'm guessing since it can become your personal assistant in general sense, this can be used for like customer service teams in communicating with. So a lot of people, how can I phrase this? People like to hire customer service teams from out of the country that have a specific way they talk, right? So how could ChatGPT help a customer service team communicate with the customers of the client they're working for?
Well, they can use it for research if they need to. And in fact, let me backtrack a little bit. One thing I really recommend, especially if you have a product that like solves problems or if it's more technical or more complex, have Chat GPT come up with issues or questions that customers have about your product and create a fact list
Mm.
from that you can put on your product page, you can put it on a fact page, you can put it on your homepage. So it can help address those issues. So in theory, if those issues are already addressed at the point of purchase, then they're not going to have those support questions anyway.
Got it.
So
So
that's
you're
kind of nipping
basically
that off at
using
the
it as
bud.
a research tool, not so
Yeah,
much. Okay,
yep,
that's a different way to look at it.
yep.
That's a great suggestion.
And the other thing too is like, if you're using like VAs, you mentioned that before, it is like a VA or having an intern, like for any kind of product research or competitor research or keywords or things like that, you can use Chat GPT instead of like a VA for those tasks. You just need to verify it because the thing with Chat GPT only goes up to 2021.
Mm.
So you got to
So
watch out for
any
that.
information that is in the Open AI database only goes up until 2021. So anything current.
Right.
So if I asked like something like who is the current president in the United States, it wouldn't know because the storage only goes to 2021 for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Another example is I did competitor research and looking like in the steampunk niche. I asked for like 5 of the most popular steampunk e-commerce websites. It gave me a list of 5. And then I asked Playground the same thing. It gave me another list of 5. So I've got 10. And the majority of those are no longer around, or they're tiny like Etsy sellers. Or one was Rebel Circus. However, if you go to Rebel Circus now, it's only a media site. It's just basically a huge blog. And their e-com is inked now. And it's not steampunk. It's kind of goth and
Brad
maybe
knows his steampunk. So going on the brand side of things, so you mentioned something Mid-Journey, I believe what you mentioned earlier. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That is very image based. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. Okay. So you have Mid-Journey and Playground AI. Mid-Journey is probably the best. It's really good. However, it's subscription based, and you use a Discord server, so it's a little bit more complicated. Playground AI is free. It's playgroundai.com, and the quality, you can get output as good as Mid-Journey, like really good. It's free up to 1,000 images a day. If you need more than 1,000 images, then you can do their paid version of it. Most people aren't going to need more than 1,000.
No, I don't need that in a year.
Yeah.
Speaking of images, I'm curious now, when we're going into that direction, how can you potentially create like better, let's say, Facebook ads or social posts and stuff like that with these platforms? How can it help you with that?
Oh yeah,
I mean, we can generate images, but how can it help you?
Yeah, again, the sky's the limit. So you can do everything from illustrations to paintings to black and white sketches to anime style to photographs of people. It could be photographs of product. If you're a tea company, you can have like loose leaf pots of loose leaf tea on a table. Just again, garbage in, garbage out. So just be very, very specific with your prompts as far as the for the text to AI to get the best results.
So has to be super specific. Okay.
Yeah, but that way you don't have to do like, you can get around from getting a graphics guy, like hiring a graphics designer, going on Fiverr, Upwork for that, or using some of the stock photos. So you can kind of get around that, but really it's super cool. And you just combine that with Canva, and Canva has its own AI, but right now it's not good. But I'm sure it will improve. Everything's going to improve.
Just like
I said, we're at the Pong stage. I think it's going to get like even more unbelievable.
Yeah, not even 5 years from now, it's probably gonna replace like pretty much every tech job out there.
Yeah, right.
I mean, somebody I read, they already created a whole website literally with just ChatGPT. Obviously, it's super complex, but it will get easier and easier.
Speaking of that, I just seen an article the other day. It's something called Galileo AI, and it will develop a UX UI design with editable Figma files based off of AI prompts. It's in beta right now. I haven't had the chance to test it. So essentially, it's going to give you like Figma files that you can edit. So you can put in prompts that design a UX for an app that you want to build. And then it'll be an editable file. So it'll literally create the framework for you based off of your prompt. So
it will create the Figma file, or based off of a Figma file?
It will create the Figma file.
Oh, wow. For anyone that doesn't know, Figma is just a design platform.
So I think a lot of people are concerned this day and age with AI putting them out of business. And I'm going to look at it as a point to pivot and grow, right? How can e-commerce store owners or myself personally use this to my advantage? Because like Brad said, it's garbage in, garbage out, and it's only going to become smarter over time. And using that to our advantage, I feel, is going to be the biggest lever in the artificial intelligence realm in 2023.
Yeah,
and,
so it does all of the like menial tasks while we focus on what actually moves the needle, like strategic thinking and planning and all of that stuff.
yeah, and right now there's still limitations, like with your with Playground AI and Midjourney, it doesn't understand letters, words. It's really stupid in
How
that
do you mean?
regard. So if you tell it to, like, if your prompt is like create a T-shirt design,
Mm,
you know, a lot of times it'll actually show a T-shirt. It may actually create a really cool design, but most designs have text on it, and so it'll
sure.
just have random letters. It'll be like gibberish on it. It doesn't get
Right.
it. You can say create a web main or a main image banner for my e-commerce website that sells, you know, so and so, and it'll create like a really cool main image banner, but it'll have text on it again. It's letters, but you know, it doesn't make sense. Gibberish.
Gotcha.
So speaking of images, now that we're on the topic, why don't you give us some tips on how to create amazing images with Playground AI or Midjourney? Was it like what
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
good prompt, right?
Okay, so with Playground and Midjourney too, you can go. If you go on the homepage, it'll show you examples of uh, designs other people have created, and if you hover over it, it'll have the prompts, exact prompts that they used.
Oh wow.
So you can copy those if you want to do something similar, and just change things here or there, like the niche or the artist reference, or you know,
Hmm.
whatever. You'll once you start playing with it, you'll get an idea. You can go online. There's a lot of resources online that you can find, you know, with a lot of prompts. They'll give you certain results. But the key thing is also what to remove from the image, because it's really bad if you just put in your prompts, and especially if it's a person, you'll have people with like two or three heads or two faces, or you know, three noses, or
Abomination.
they're cross-eyed, or like one eye is here and the one's on the top of their head, or like an arm just floating in the air. It'll be like really weird. So there's an option to remove from image and all these prompts that you can add that you don't want. It's like negative AdWords or negative keywords with your Google AdWords.
Mm.
So it's really
So
important to tell that what you don't want. You don't want, you know, deformities. You don't want two faces. You don't want
Right. So the
like
more
deformed
specific you are, the
limbs.
better, right?
Yeah. So be specific with your prompts, and be specific with your what I call like negative prompts.
can you be too specific?
No, I don't. Again, it's playing around with it. I think if you're like too confusing, so if you have things in your prompts that are contradictory,
Hmm.
you know, that may really confuse the AI.
Right.
However, like one big thing is listing the artist that you want to influence your
Hmm.
output. And I saw one that came out really cool. That was a combination of Artgerm. Artgerm is a comic book artist. If you look at all the AI that's out now, almost all of them are influenced by Artgerm. It's almost kind of an anime-ish
Hmm.
looking, super popular comic book cover artist, combined with Norman Rockwell,
Mm.
who's a
And
very famous Americana, you know,
Right.
painter and illustrator.
so
Got it.
in the first days of ChatGPT and all of these being live, I was seeing a bunch of videos from creators on YouTube talking about how this is kind of a gray area when you're trying to create images in a certain artist's style, and the AI would end up like making it look as if the artist painted it. So are you stepping into dangerous waters with copyrights and stuff?
Now, I don't think so, unless you're just ripping off the copyright. But whatever artist style is being ripped off,
Hmm.
were probably influenced by other artists and incorporated
True.
some of their style. So that's always
It
happened.
just took them longer to paint it than the AI that spit it out in
Yeah,
2 seconds,
or
right?
draw it. Right,
Yeah.
Artgerm was influenced by all these other people that have similar styles. A
Mm,
lot of a lot of artists, they're similar to other artists.
right.
Their styles are similar. So I wouldn't worry about that. What I would worry about is when people are using someone else's IP, So a copyright, if you're doing like a Marvel, or DC character, Batman, or whoever,
So
or if you're
create an
using,
image of Iron Man using my product. Obviously, that's
right, you don't want
looking for
Disney to
trouble,
come
right?
after you. The other thing too is using the likeness of someone else's image, or like a celebrity or an actor, actress.
Right.
You see a lot of that. You'll see like it looks like Scarlett Johansson, with her face on Wonder Woman or whatever. You can't do that because they can come, even though it's not copyright, it's someone else's likeness without their permission.
Right.
And I mean, this happened again. Given a comic book example, Amy Grant sued Marvel Comics for putting her likeness on a Doctor Strange cover. She's a Christian singer that used to be like super popular.
Oh, that happened on the Doctor Strange comic?
Yep. But they had to recall it. Yep.
Oh, you're going to get Brad going down rabbit holes of comic books here.
Here you go.
And we're going to run out of storage space for the podcast.
You had Edgar and Johnny Winters, two blues guitarists, also sued DC Comics because they used their likenesses to villains like psychopaths.
Oh, wow.
And they litigate. It was in the court for like 9 years. And DC won, but they were in court for 9 years. They litigated that for that long. So
they won.
DC won. However, it cost them a lot of money.
Exactly.
To fight that claim.
So while we were still on that topic, is there anything else that people need to be careful with when it comes to like copyright infringement, plagiarism, and stuff like that? Could AI like plagiarize content?
I guess it could. I mean, typically it actually writes it. I think if you're more specific with your prompts, you're not going to have to worry about that. And also, I would almost never use anything just completely from AI. I would kind of rewrite and make it, your own a little bit.
Sound more in your voice, in your brand's voice.
Yeah, like even in that t-shirt example, there are like a couple things I would have changed right there, but for the most part, probably 70% of it I would have used.
Do you recommend any tool to check for plagiarism and stuff like that, or?
There is.
I don't bother with
off
that.
The top of my head, I'm not aware of one. I'm sure there is. Writer.com. I think it has that actually. It has AI detection, but I also think that it has a plagiarism option as well.
And I personally was curious about this when I first started working with Jasper, and I asked him or it, should I be worried about content generated by you for plagiarism? And it said that I should not be worried about it, and every content is unique. So
yeah, I wouldn't think so.
I don't know how much that's how trustworthy that is, but that's what it said.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about plagiarism, but never say never, because you never know. But I think Writer.com has those capabilities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brett, for
all
of this insight.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned earlier when I introduced the lovely Brett Owens, that he is our Ecom Insider Community Manager, and I believe he is in the process of developing a new AI course for our private Ecom Insider community that will be available here shortly. It's an exciting topic, and our members are chomping at the bit for it, and Brad's been working tirelessly to get it out the doors. So if you have interest in our e-commerce private community, Ecom Insider, or anything more about Build, Grow, Scale, click the link in the description, and our customer service team will get a hold of you. And unless Brad or Alex have anything else to say, that's all we got for this episode.
No, that's it.
All right, everyone.
Thank you.
Catch you on the next one.